with the introduction of IBC, I think equally important for us is to understand basically what is the objective of IBC? It was for reorganization and revival, restructuring of companies. The IBC was not brought out to recover dues, bad debts, monies, recover NPA related amounts from companies. That was not the objective of IBC. If you read the preamble of IBC, it's very clear cut. Multiple judgments over the last 3 years. The appellate tribunal of NCLT, which is called the NCLAT, it's primarily in Delhi, and the Supreme Court has said that this is not a recovery law, it's a resolution law. Also, IBC was brought in to bring in some kind of a level playing field between the relationship between the creditor and the debtor. Because prior to IBC, it was this way: the creditor was always at the mercy of the debtor, and the debtor would be happy if you file a case against the debtor. I mean, the guy who owes you money, because he knows that if you file the case against him, it will take years together, and by the time it reaches some conclusiveness in court, either you will be tired and you will be willing to settle or whatever he is willing to give you, or something of that nature. And more or less, the banks are also in a similar placed situation. A little better off thanks to DRT, but the relationship wasn't at a level playing field at all. Maximize the value of assets, because what happens is, again, we were talking about liquidation, it takes a very long time. A lot of companies which are in brick and mortar or any industry, if your liquidation is going to take 10 years, 8 years, 5 years, obviously the value of the assets is going to deteriorate over a period of time. So that value maximization happens only if it's a speedy mechanism, if it's done in a speedily manner. And time-bound remedy, yes, in India, I think most important was that a law was required that works in a time-bound manner, because all the old laws were like just by default took years together. Now, who were the eligible people who could file under IBC? You see these 4 boxes here, section 7, 8, 9, 10, it talks about. So primarily 3 category of people. People who are financial creditors, which will typically include banks, NBFCs. Even if you're an individual, you give a loan to somebody, it's on a proper terms of loan, an agreement is there, or supporting documents to show that you have given money with a component of interest, and it is given to a company with the idea that you will get some time value for money. Basically, you will get some interest. So it need not necessarily be only for bankers. It was even, I mean, we have filed multiple cases for individual creditors or consortium of financial creditors. And the good thing in IBC is that a set of consortium of creditors can come together and file a case against one company. Of course, it depends on a case-to-case basis. It's advisable that if the transaction is, if 4 people have got together and done a consortium and lent money to a company, it would make more sense. But if each one's transaction is very different, then probably clubbing them together theoretically is possible, but practically is a challenge. Operation creditor is basically somebody to whom money is owed thanks to supply of goods or services. So forget about the sections. We'll try to minimize our discussion on the sections here. In a financial creditor case that you file an IBC, you don't have to issue any prior notice. If there is a default by the debtor to give you your interest or your principal or whatever is the due amount at that point in time, you can go ahead and file a case. In the case of an operational creditor, you have to establish that there is no dispute between the two of you. There is no other ongoing proceedings in any other court of law. Check bounce is not included in this. Check bounce can go on parallelly with IBC. But yeah, operational creditor is towards that, and you have to issue a demand notice, which is a mandatory procedure. And following a demand notice, you file a case in the NCLT. After demand notice, the other party is given 10 days time to respond back. So a lot of times people do dispute, raise a dispute for the sake of raising a dispute, and when the matter comes in NCLT, either they settle or they are willing to take the chance of arguing the case on merits and possibly facing insolvency. The third category, which is a corporate applicant, which means basically equivalent of your BIFR. If you believe that you are a sick company or you have your own defaults, I mean, default isn't black and white. You're an NPA, you owe banks money and you don't have the money to give, and you want to restructure and come out in a manner where eventually you can run the company also, or you can have a resolution plan. You need not necessarily be able to run the company later. You want at least the business to survive, you can file something called a Section 10. Only thing, the disclosure requirements in Section 10 are a lot more. So the number of filings in Section 10 have gone down over the last few years. Initially, it was quite a bit because people who moved out of BIFR, automatically BIFR ceased to exist on 1st of December 2016, the day on which officially IBC came into place from a practical angle. So when BIFR ceased, all those cases were given 6 months time to file Section 10 applications. So the promoters who are pretty used to long-term moratoriums thought, okay, chalo, another new law, which will eventually get diluted. Nothing much will happen. But to their bad luck and to, I think, to reasonably some luck of the other creditor segment, I would say, IBC did not go down that way, and it's been pretty serious. And I mean, the way what we saw was a lot of these companies that filed Section 10s eventually had to face liquidation because the promoter wasn't really that serious in terms of a resolution plan or coming up with some kind of a solution, restructuring, or something of that nature till almost the time frame which is given in IBC, which is 270 days at that point in time. Now it is amended to 330 days. The time frame, 270 days is there to come up with to basically ensure that your entire resolution plan itself is passed by the committee of creditors, which is the bankers, the financial creditors. All your financial creditors constitute the committee of creditors. So the resolution plan that comes for a company has to be passed by them by 66% voting. And this all has to happen within 270 days. But the Indian promoter, or I would say a lot of promoters were not prepared for that. As a result of which, the companies ended up into liquidation. So yeah, these were the people, and this is how the law has, I'm also trying to cover as and when some practical aspects of it.